views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now? And who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine. Now, here is your host, Dr. Susan Allison.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Carry the Light. This is Dr. Susan, and I am so happy that you're here, either live or listening to the archive show. I've been enjoying all your emails. Most of you are contacting me on my website at dr.com. So there I can answer your live questions and also do phone sessions with you as I do with people all over the world. So I just returned from a book tour in Southern California, and I am tired. I am so tired from the traveling, but also it's like my body is a little tired, but my spirit is so high from meeting so many beautiful people at these venues. It was incredible. And I was talking about my new book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. And people are so ready. And I know you are too out there, all my wonderful listeners. You're ready to overcome your fear of death. And you're ready to know without a doubt where your loved ones are who are departed. And you can receive guidance and healing from your own spirit allies to enrich your life now while still on earth. And so that is exciting news. I kept saying, Happy New Year to everyone. It was Chinese New Year one time when I spoke, and I was able to talk about that and talk about the news that we don't have to die to go to heaven. We can go right now and create a heaven on earth. And our guest is going to be talking about that today, too, to create the most joy possible while we are still embodied. So I know that many of you have done deep work, and
You know what? We're going to do this, and I apologize, Susan. Let's go ahead and take just a quick break. We're going to clean up this signal that we've got coming from you, and it seems like I've actually lost it, Susan. So let's go and do that. You're listening to the Transformation Talk Radio Network, and we'll be right back.
Well, everyone, I'm back. Dr. Susan Allison at We Carry the Light, and we've been having technical difficulties this morning. Our apologies to you. You were just listening and in a groove, and suddenly there was nothing. So some music, though. Benny does a great job of filling in and at least giving you some music and some things to entertain you while we clean this up. Bad connection, perhaps at Skype this morning. So I am back. And I was talking to you about your life, my life, all of us waking up and becoming the divine humans that we are, knowing what our soul's purpose is, and knowing that we can change the past. We can forgive it. We can forgive the people who have hurt us and ask for forgiveness from those we have hurt. We can make amends anytime. And we can also stop playing small out of our fear and really shine the light of who we are. We all have that light to shine. So I've done a lot of work on myself, and I know that you have too, or you wouldn't be listening to this show where we have inspiration for transformation every single week. So my guest today is no different. She's been really working on herself since she was a small child, actually. Lynne Cockrum-Murphy. She has worked on transforming herself after a very, very challenging life, a life that was tragic, and will share her transformative story with you today and ways for all of us to change suffering into an enlightened life from the suffering that we've all experienced. I mean, we've all suffered, right? We've all had experiences that have caused us pain, that caused us heartbreak, and so caused us hurt. And so she really is an expert in that realm and an expert in how to transform it. So she has a new book that I have read this week, and it's called Living Hope, Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind. So her book is an Amazon #1 bestseller, and you can get it there. And in her book, she helps people rise from hopelessness into hope. So today on the show, I'm hoping that she will share how you can end karma, the karma that causes you to suffer. And she does believe in past lives, as I do. And we'll talk about karma today. She's going to help us learn how to escape our powerlessness, how to live through loss, through poverty, depression, and find joy in your soul. She's going to help us learn to trust even after being betrayed and deceived, how to make life-affirming decisions, and how to leave behind, as I mentioned earlier, smallness, putting that bushel basket over our light, how to rise from smallness into our greatness. So Lynne Cockrum-Murphy is an intuitive consultant specializing in bringing guidance to those who seek assistance with their spiritual path, in addition to facilitating physical healing, emotional growth, and removing blocks to a life of joy, meaning, and purpose. She has a doctorate in education, is a licensed substance abuse counselor, an Access Bars instructor, an advanced level theta healer, and course instructor. She continues to teach at Northern Arizona University, and she maintains a private practice in Phoenix, Arizona. So Lynne, welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Thank you for having me, Susan. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So you mentioned an emergency this morning when you emailed me. I wanted to ask you if your eyes are okay, how you're doing right this minute.
I'm doing okay. I have an infection in one of my eyes, and it's so I'm getting antibiotics, and I'm going to be fine. I've had this happen before.
Good.
It's that symbology thing of what do you not want to see, or what when you look at it hurts. So I'm working on it. You mentioned doing the work. Well, here's one more opportunity.
Yeah, we sure have a lot of them, don't we? A lot of opportunities to do the work here. So, you mentioned in your book that you really like Louise Hay. And Louise Hay does have us look at every part of our body, and if things are aching or things are out of whack in our body, to look at what that's telling us. And you just did it beautifully by talking about seeing. So I wanted to have you start, though, with your story. And if you want to start as far back as you want to tell it. I have read your book, experienced a lot of what you have experienced just through your writing, but perhaps you can tell listeners a bit about your story.
I guess what's unique about it is the number of traumas that occurred. When I was 2.5, our furnace broke, and the house blew up and burned down. My father saved me. He got me outside. I was found out on the lawn in front of the house. He went back in to save my sisters and was unable to. They died in the house. He died in the hospital shortly after, and my mother wasn't home. She was at Grandma's house, so my mother went on to raise me. So that was our rough start, and then my mom, although she went to church as a young person, she found after the fire that didn't give her the answers that she needed, apparently. So what she did tend to do is go to the bar instead. Mm-hmm. So when I was 4, she remarried. When I was 6, I was molested by a male relative. When I was 9, that stepdad died in a logging accident. When I was 10, she remarried another man, a man with a severe alcohol problem. Yeah. After that, I was molested by a different relative. and then went into my teen years really, with that victim mentality and so very unhappy and not knowing where the answers lied. So the good news is I took that as a challenge and said, but, by God, there's got to be some answers out there, and I'm going to find them.
I felt that in your book. Excuse me for interrupting, but I felt that in your book with your resiliency, that you were incredibly resilient, and there are children in the same family that aren't as resilient, but you just kept going and you kept seeking other reasons this was happening and finding help. And so I just wanted to honor you for your resiliency.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was my discovery when I did the research for my dissertation, when I got my doctorate. What was that made me come out of that situation successfully and, have a career and so on? And why does that not work for all kids? And so my dissertation is all about that.
Yeah, no, you're amazingly resilient, and it's not as easy for a lot of people to have gone through a fire where you're the only survivor, and there's the chance to have survivor's guilt. Mm-hmm. There's the loss of your sisters, of your father. Just your description of, and those of you who don't have the book, you can get it on Amazon. It's called Living Hope: Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind. And just your description of being out on that lawn, and your dad carried you out onto the lawn and ran back in for everyone else. It's an amazing introduction to your book as you first open, and really riveting and kept me reading. We do have to take a break, and I'm sorry we have to do this so quickly after our technical difficulties, everyone, but we will be right back with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy.
We all seem to have something in our lives that we would like to shift, and there are a myriad of ways to implement change. But many times we try even several approaches and still don't get what we want. Why is that? Well, as it turns out, there are universal principles governing change that you probably haven't heard about before. Principles which determine whether or not you are successful in getting what you want. Follow these principles and you get positive, lasting change. Ignore them and you remain stuck. So if you are struggling in some area of your life, then you are missing an essential ingredient in your recipe for change. Want to learn the key to success? Please join me, Christine Upchurch, on February 15th at the Women of Wisdom Conference in Seattle to learn the vibration of change. Empower yourself in a new way to create the changes you desire. For more information, visit ChristineUpchurch.com. That's ChristineUpchurch.com, or call 425-999-9836.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynne Brown now through March for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit LynneBrownEvent.com. That's LynneBrownEvent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynne Brown.
Has asthma or allergies got you singing the raspy blues? Allergy and Asthma Networks is the nation's premier nonprofit patient-centered network of doctors, caregivers, patients, and healthcare professionals who are dedicated to ending death and suffering due to asthma, allergies, and related conditions. Join President and CEO Tanya Winders each month on the Dr. Pat Show to learn more, and visit allergyasthmanetwork.org today. Breathe better together with Allergy and Asthma Network.
Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit ArtieHoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
What if we really didn't have to die to go to heaven? Are you curious about the afterlife or rebirth? The highly anticipated new book from author Dr. Susan Allison, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, is available now. Find out how to find guidance and healing in the spirit realms. Order the book today and put it on your must-read list for 2016. Visit drsusanallison.com to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Carry the Light. This is Dr. Susan, and I have Lynne Cockrum-Murphy with me today, author of Living Hope, Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind. And Lynne, before the break, we were talking about the suffering. We were starting there. We were starting with your childhood fire at your house. Those of you who are just tuning in, Lynne was one of the only the only survivor of the fire, actually, Lynne, because your mom was at your grandmother's house.
Right.
But you were the survivor of that fire. Your dad was a hero. I mean, your dad saved your life and ran back in for your sisters. And he perished in the fire, or perished later, and your sisters perished in the fire. And, you said you don't remember much as that toddler. You've been in your crib and your dad lifted you out and took you outdoors. You don't remember, but you spent months in the hospital, did you not, with burns?
As far as I know, it's always been a painful thing for family members to discuss with me. And then after my mother and grandmother were gone, I asked a couple other relatives, and they couldn't remember. So, I could go back and look at the records. At the same time, I just find that every piece of whatever injury that occurred through that event gets healed in its own time. If I just be aware and be willing and open to do the work, stuff arises, and then you clear it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I know that we talked at the break about focusing on, that, in fact, a teacher said to me once, a spiritual teacher said, suffering is optional in the sense that suffering happens, but then you mentioned the word clear. You said you can clear it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do people listening clear suffering? How do we change what's happened to us and transform that suffering? How do we do that?
Well, I think it is valuable to be clear about two parts of suffering. One is in physical suffering, in the immediate event, say you break your arm. That physical suffering is going to take all your attention. Most of what I'm talking about is the suffering after the fact, after the event, and what we do with it, with our minds and the stories that we tell ourselves about what occurred. So if I replay it, if I replay the fire in my head or talk about it in my head, and I talk about, my father was a wonderful man. He saved me, and he couldn't save the others, and he died because of me, and I just focus on he died because of me, then I'm going to end up with worse guilt and put myself in a bad place. If I focus on my mother's struggles after the fire and that she couldn't really be there for me after that, then I end up with that not enough syndrome. I'm not enough. I wasn't loved enough. So to stop those patterns and to see a therapist, to see a healer, to read materials, to research, find out what is survivor's guilt and how to get yourself out of that state of mind. So I think, using the people, the tools, the materials, and doing the work. And for me, it's also prayer. Sometimes it's just praying for the willingness to let something go. But I've also worked with some amazing healers that help release the trauma, but also the pattern, that holding on to the story that this is who I am. Because in actuality, it's not who I am. It's only what I experienced.
Mm-hmm. It's only also one part. It's one, if your life is this circle with these pie pieces, it's like this 1/2000th of that piece, of that pie that you are, or that circle of who you are, that light being that you are. It's this part. I think we tend to think of it that it's all of who we are.
Right, we over-identify with those things. I think, for some reason, that made me think about women who are in abusive relationships, that they tend to think, this is all I'm worth, there's no way out, I couldn't do it on my own anyway, and staying in that mindset keeps them trapped in that situation. And so much of it is about freeing your mind from that, to allow that I am worth more than this, to build and build and build until you're ready to take the steps to change your life.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned some really good things. You've mentioned retelling the story, like, reframing it and then telling it differently. More truthfully, actually, to include everything that happened rather than that one part that you keep replaying in your head. You talked about prayer. You talked about therapy. And, you talked about, we talked about perseverance during the break. But I think that, there are a lot of things that we can do, starting with, let's say people say, I don't have the money to do these seminars, or I don't have the money even to go to therapy. Don't you think that they could even just open a piece of paper or journal and write the story they've been telling themselves and then maybe rewrite it?
Oh, that's a wonderful technique. Right. I've learned about that when I was in my counselor training, that you can rewrite the past. And when I first heard that, I thought, what? No, you can't. But in actuality, because we are replaying those stories, we can rewrite them. So, and I also mentioned in the book repeatedly that journaling is a powerful tool. For self-expression, for getting insights, for releasing, and then within that also autobiography. So if you want to tell the story, tell it, and tell the parts that are most important to you, most significant, or most painful, or most confusing. And then you can work with a trained person to release that. And the reason I say a trained person, because I always like to caution people about sharing painful writing with anyone who will hurt them with it. Because there are a lot of people that are passive-aggressive, are unclear about their own intentions, and so you don't share with just anyone. You share with people that are kind, that are supportive, that are genuine.
Really good point. Really good point. You mentioned theta healing all through the book. Now, is that something people could do to relate, to tell their story and release it?
Theta healing is an amazing tool, and I think it accelerated my progress. It's hard to tell, because I've been in a good place for a long time. But when I got that, I started really getting free of a lot of old family patterns and belief systems. So it's very good for that. You can just buy the Theta Healing book from the Institute, Vienna Stibble's Institute, she's the author, or from Amazon, and you can study it yourself and start applying all the techniques in it, or you can take a class. I teach the class. They're taught all over the world, actually. So there's the basic class, and then there are more advanced classes. So a person could start that on their own. If you do Theta Healing sessions with a Theta healer, people can do that with me. But if it's a money issue, then I would just get the book and I would use it for myself.
Great idea. So let's apply it, and we may have to do some of this after the next break. But I'd like to start right now. Let's say that you have a childhood core belief you're carrying around, that you need to be perfect in order to be loved. I'm just throwing that out. That came to me. You have to be perfect in order to be loved. That's how it was in your family. And you've lived your whole life with that core belief. Can you think of one Theta technique that would help transform that?
Mm-hmm. Usually I would explore that with a few more questions to see if there is something under it that is even more profound for the person, like I am unlovable, or I've disappointed God, or so I would look, or if I am not perfect, I will die, or something like that, or I am abandoned. So I'm going to look for even a deeper belief, and then I'm going to use the theta prayer. I'm going to also muscle test the person, or do the testing myself for them to find out if we've really gotten down to what is a truth for that person, even though it isn't a greater truth. So then we do the theta healing prayer, or I do it, going up to theta state. And that is one of the keys to this, is working from the theta state, the brainwave state. Then the very specific prayer, and then I watch intuitively to see if it gets removed from the person. The God, being what God is, can just do that. And there's no 6 months of therapy on that topic. It can be done in that moment.
Wow.
And then I ask for downloads for that person, for God to instill things like knowing my worth is not based upon worldly things, or I am always loved. I always have been. I always will be. I am actually made up of love. I have love from the greatest source there is. Those kinds of things, to instill that so the person can know what apparently they didn't know before. So, yeah, that's how that process works. Usually when I work with an individual, I combine methods. I might do a reading, and that's included within theta healing. I might focus on the beliefs. Sometimes channeling occurs. And I do support the person using my counseling skills. That's really,
wonderful.
Where you learn how to listen.
Yep, wonderful. This has been very helpful for me personally, and I hope it is for listeners. We need to take a break. We're here with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy, who has just written Living Hope. We'll be right back, everyone.
How do I breathe? How do I breathe? It feels so different being here. I was so used to being next to you. Life for me is not the same.
Put a little woohoo in your life with Keys. Keys Clear Protein Waters have 22 grams of smile-making, attitude-adjusting protein in every bottle. Did I mention its tongue-tingling taste? Not just another guilty pleasure. With Keys, you'll enjoy every low-sugar sip and freedom from gluten, lactose, and GMOs. Who needs the fountain of youth when you can find Keys on Amazon or at Keys, Kees, please.com. Put a little woohoo in your attitude with Keys Protein Water.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Shine On Radio. Find Your Shine with Kelly is the show that celebrates what makes you, you. Join co-hosts Kelly Wadler and Dr. Pat Basili as they break down how to brilliantly fuel and move your body and love what makes you shine. Kelly is a professional arts and wellness coach dedicated to helping brilliant women find their confidence, energy, self-love, and shine. Tune in to Shine On Radio with Kelly and find your shine on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Leslie Fontaine with Sheer Alchemy on Transformation Talk Radio, and here's my tip of the day. Let's talk about unlimited thinking. Let's talk about limitlessness. What would it look like and feel like? Is it only for special people? What if you aren't living a very abundant, powerful life right now? Is this opportunity closed off to you? Absolutely not. This is your chance, without lifting a finger, even telling anyone around you, or leaving the house. You can begin to step into all that you are and all that you were meant to be. Pay attention to the arguments that arise as you articulate the limitlessness of your opportunities, your finances, and the loving and supportive friends and family members around you. Draw them in. Let's shift those agreements from the lower level energies to those that allow you to step into all that you are. Visit me at lesliefontaine.com and listen to Sheer Alchemy on transformationtalkradio.com.
What is a master soul gardener? With Nomi Bahar, you can be one too. Her revolutionary Gates of Power method is a comprehensive program that addresses every aspect of yourself and gives you the tools to tend to the seeds of your soul's garden. Let Nomi guide you through and beyond what's holding you back and help you embrace the life you've always dreamed of. To learn more about upcoming classes and workshops, visit gatesofpower.com today.
Let it go too far. Starting over, it's so hard. Seems like everywhere I try to go, I keep thinking of you.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Carry the Light. And this is Dr. Susan, and I'm here with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy, talking about her book, Living Hope, Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind. We have been talking about suffering. We talked in the last segment about how we can rewrite our stories, literally, in our journals, can take what it is we've been telling ourselves all these years and reframe it, rewrite it, and see that we've been only seeing a segment of what happened and not the entire story. It can transform our lives. It has happened for me, happened for Lynn, and can happen for you. So during the break, we were talking about the concept of suffering, and Lynn said suffering is an illusion. And Lynn, talk a bit more about that for listeners.
So that's a pretty tough concept for people to get right off the bat. And I appreciate that, because I know there was a time I would have thought, what is wrong with you for saying that? So,
yeah.
But in my spiritual studies, I really see it manifest in my as illusion in my meditations. So when I have a good meditation and I get into that still place where it's so quiet, everything that I wanted, that I worried about, that I would have asked God about, disappears. So I may sit down in meditation with the intention to get insight on something. But when you get into that quiet place, then there's like, oh, did I have a question? Because there's so much peace there. There's no need to go looking for anything. To me, that is when the illusion of this world disappears. So we also call this world an illusion because from my studies, it's my understanding that this is just what we created as a vehicle for the experiences that we wish to have. When we started this, I don't know how many millions of years ago, maybe billions of years ago, where we separated from the totality of God and we became conscious individuals. And eventually we even lost our awareness of the connection and of who we are. And today we're so much closer to getting that back. So part of getting that back is realizing the truth is we are the same as what our source is. We are that same energy. That our bodies are just tools that we've created. Our bodies can't even contain us. We're so much greater than that. So my understanding is this world, this life, these experiences, including all the karma that we talked about today, is an illusion that I set forth for myself for a reason. And if I have a spiritual practice, I can step out of that and see a whole different perspective. And that, again, is my unification with the creative source of all that is. And in that place, there's no suffering. There's only peace, love, joy, maybe creativity. There's energy, but it's light.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's why I call my show We Carry the Light.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy of who we are is really light. And quantum physicists agree that energy is densely packed light.
Mm-hmm.
And we are light. The whole universe is made of light. And I'm so happy that scientists are proving what on a spiritual level I've always known.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, so saying that, suffering is an illusion, we can step out and see all that is. I also feel like it's tied somewhat to your Buddhist practice, is it not? And just my husband was Buddhist, and I'm not Buddhist, but I have been going to something called Insight Meditation, which is a center here in Santa Cruz, California.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on one day because I was feeling attached to my husband still being here, and he passed away in 2013. And the entire talk, the Dharma talk, was on non-attachment. And that, do you also agree that attachment is what causes us to suffer?
Mm-hmm. I really do. And that awareness of attachment is one of the first stages in recognizing it could be different. I talk about in the book surrendering and letting go, and that's part of the non-attachment concept. So for me, Buddhism totally changed my life. I had mentioned earlier that seeing my family say go to church and then not go to church themselves and not be satisfied from whatever they had gotten from church, that I decided to look elsewhere. And so I became Buddhist at 17 and moved into the Buddhist commune. But after I finished college, I started studying with metaphysical Christians, and it moved into that commune in Oregon. And they were real unique in that we had the metaphysical teachings, we had meditations, there was channeling and energy work. And on the other hand, some of the members were charismatic. And so there was our work with the Holy Spirit. So it was very unique, but also transformative, very healing, taking me into the realms of possibilities of who I might be rather than who I was in the past. And the last thing I want to mention about all that is I also studied Hinduism, and in studying some of the gurus is where I got more of that concept of this is actually illusion. But there are good films that I mention in the book that help give us that impression. Matrix is even like a version of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like that film, and I also like the other films that you mentioned. The Robin Williams film.
Yeah.
What Dreams May Come. I love that film.
That one, it really shows us so many things from the Akashic Records are in it. Yep. I remember there were some other scenes that were so discomforting that I was like, my God, I need to find out what that was and why it triggered me like that. And then there's the whole concept about being stuck in suffering and what that did to the female character's life.
Yeah, for his wife, and he had to go get her out of the Bardic realms.
Right.
Yeah, it's riveting, that part of the film, and I learned so much also since I do shamanic journey work and can journey to what I call a level of heaven, and through all the levels that you can go through. I really like that film because it shows that each person, by what they need, how he created every step he took, it made it look like he was painting his version of heaven. Mm-hmm. And I have found that as well, that when I go, it's my version. Other people who have experienced a near death, they go, it's their version of heaven. So everybody can, through shamanic work, go to these beautiful spirit realms, and they're going to appear the way they need them to appear, and the people are going to appear as light or as holograms or as human, depending on what each person needs.
I enjoy doing that kind of work also. I do it with the theta healing, and I guess with my psychic awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I love it, and I've been teaching it, and it's really, really incredible to have each person go to what beings love them and give them healing and help, guidance for their lives that is individual, that's for each person. So, you mentioned a little while ago, you mentioned self-love, and you mentioned surrender. These concepts are hard for many of us as humans. To be able to surrender, to be able to love ourselves, to be able to forgive, to be able to let go, to be able to know ourselves, because all these are chapter titles in your book. Let's take one. Let's take self-love. So how do we love ourselves? Which you say, and I agree with you, is one of the hardest parts.
To me, it's been a very gradual process, and probably there are some little facets of myself that I still want to extend that into. A couple of things happened. One is when I met people who loved me, like I had a boyfriend in college, and he really loved me, and we didn't stay together. But from that, I learned that I was lovable. There were things about me that he thought were so cute, and I took that in and let that counter my previous beliefs. I also let life itself just teach me about love. Like I would have thought, because I broke up with that man, and later on, quite a bit later, met the man that became my husband and married, and I would have thought that the old love would have just died, right? Because I broke up with him. Why would I still love him? But then I realized that love is so much different than whatever I thought when I was young. It's so multifaceted. It is not one thing. And so I can have love for someone that I chose not to have a life with, but I can still love him. It's very lovable. And I could teach school and love all those children, even if I didn't like what they did that day. I could still love the person. And so as I considered love in the world and what that is, I think my whole understanding of love increased. And then love for myself, I wrote some meditations. They're available through my website on meditating on love. Mm-hmm. What is love? And it helped me to start with feeling the love that I feel for Creator. And I would send that love in meditation out from myself to Creator and ask that I might feel Creator's love for me. And so it's a flowing back and forth kind of energy in the meditation. And I did that a gazillion times. And I think that has a lot to do with the transition that occurred where now I believe I am loved. I've always been loved. I'm lovable. I always will be loved. It's just part of who I am. And there's no worthiness. There's no question involved.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to have to take a break. I hate to stop, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy, and we're going to talk more about self-love and other things. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Awaken to your radiant, authentic self. For over 15 years, soul purpose advocate Nancy Monson has been focused on leading change in the lives of those looking to live their true purpose. She is devoted to supporting people in living a soul-directed life every day. Let Nancy help you overcome fear, worry, and doubt. Visit everydayspirituality.com to learn how Nancy can be your soul purpose advocate.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Enlightening, humorous, and compassionate. Listen live to The Kelly Ballard Show, insight and inspiration from the great beyond. Kelly is a fourth-generation medium and intuitive who covers topics ranging from grief, spirit guides, and listening to your intuition. Kelly can help you get answers and guidance from the other side with a little bit of humor and a lot of healing. Tune in to The Kelly Ballard Show, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
Get ready to experience Truth Talk Radio with host Deb Acker. Tune in to Truth Talk Radio each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to illuminate the truth in your daily life as you experience life, love, and abundance from a whole new perspective. This hit show will leave you feeling lighter and bring you into a place of infinite possibilities every day in every way. Visit TruthTalkRadioshow.com for upcoming transformative topics and guests.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Beautiful song. Thank you for being here, everyone. Welcome back to We Carry the Light. And I'm here with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy, and we're talking about her book, Living Hope. Before we get into this segment, which is our final segment, Lynne, and we may get carried away, tell people how to get in touch with you, how to contact you for sessions, how to get your book.
Sure. The book's webpage is LynneCockrum-Murphy.com, and Lynne is Lynne. Cockrum is COCKRUM-Murphy.com. My business website is desertjewel.org. No caps, caps won't matter either way, but desertjewel.org. On the book's website, the first one I mentioned, the Lynne Cockrum-Murphy one, is a free chapter. If you want to request the free chapter, you can have it sent to you. And there's also another gift there, a Venn diagram, and we'll talk about what that is in a minute, but you can access that and have that without purchasing the book. You can purchase the book through the website, or you can go to Amazon, get it on Kindle or on paperback. Barnes & Noble carries it too, so it's out in more locations now. I would encourage people to get it, not just to read my story, but because of all the hope and all the ideas and all the tools, the action steps, the checkoff list at the back, the Venn diagram and the explanation on how to use that, the movie list, the book list. There's a lot in there that really might move a person to a more joyful life.
Yep. Thank you. And I really love, you mentioned the Venn diagram, which for those of you who don't know, you probably are younger than we are on the show right now. But Venn diagrams are these two circles that overlap, and then there's a space in the middle. And I remember doing it with this amazing teacher I had in high school. And Lynne has them in her book. And she has it in a chapter 21, called Being. And, it's being, are you a human doing, or are you a human being? Or can you combine those And can you have being while you're doing? I loved how you did that in the center there. Let's talk about that a bit, because that is a struggle in my own life currently, and has been for years, that I am, and people have said I'm a workaholic. I'm an overachiever. I have achieved a lot in my life, and I push myself and can't do that as much anymore. That I'm getting messages from my body and messages in my life personally. I need to stop being a human doing and be more of a human being. So talk about that, like what you meant by that in the book and how people can access it.
It was created for some workshops that I did for some recovery groups. So what you do is, as you fill it out, it's really easy on the doing side to talk about what you do. It's your chores, it's your job, it's your housework, it's your going out on Friday night, it's driving the car, talking on the phone. The being is where most of us tend to be weak, and in this day and age, people really want more of the being. So if you write what it is you do to create that being state, where it's not about thinking, it's not about doing, it's about being quiet and still inside or peaceful. Abraham Maslow wrote about it as the self-actualized state. That, for me, comes in meditation. For some people, it comes walking in nature. Some people get it gardening, dancing in spirit. So you put those on the other side, in the left side of the circle, the big circle. Okay. Where the two overlap, the things that are being while doing, that's where things like yoga, and I'm not talking about power yoga. I'm talking about the more traditional yogas, where you stay in a quiet, conscious state while moving through the asanas. Tai Chi would be another one, Qigong, and there are more. The Shaolin practices would fit. So gardening could be one of those things that is in the middle, and as was the dancing that I mentioned. But there's more. A lot of people get it walking in nature. I certainly get it when I'm at the beach, listening to the noise of the waves.
Yep.
I get it in the forest, listening to the wind in the trees. So it's a matter of the individual kind of creating their own lists and then seeing what would they like to add in. And I have examples in the book of, what's on my list and what ideas people have given me as we've done the workshop to expand it beyond my experience. So then I suggest pick one, pick two, try them out, see if it fits for you, because if it does, you'll want to keep doing it. And if it doesn't, then try something else. There is no one way. We're all very unique. But I think working through that Venn diagram will help you find a little nudge in the direction that you want.
Good. I love it. I love it because also your transparency. And by the way, Lynne is incredibly authentic and transparent in the whole book. I mean, the book is about her life, but she's very honest about what has happened to her and how she recovered from all of it. But in that chapter, I really, really like that because you said burnout approached. And in some circles, it's called workaholism in terms of all that you were doing. You were doing so much at once. And that's how I have led my life pretty much. And I'm changing it as we speak. So I like that you were transparent. You said, I've been there, I've done that. And then you have this wonderful exercise that you just described where we can segue in a way from being a human doing to being a human being.
Right. It's one step at a time. Make one change. Find one thing that you would like to try and move in that direction. The meditations that I do, I love sitting and finding that quiet place where I have no problems and no questions. But other people can't stand meditating. They just can't do it.
Yeah.
So find what works for you.
Yes. Yep. And I can't even that we must close. I have so enjoyed this. I was just chatting away and just got a message that I have to end. Thank you so much, Lynne, for being on the show, and I wish you so much success with your book and in your life. And thank you for helping so many people.
Thank you. It's been really a pleasure being here, too. And I would just like to remind all the listeners that they are the light of the world. They are the shining beings, and I encourage them to see that in themselves.
You've been listening to The Transformative Show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now, and who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.